Okay. All right. I think we are live. So, welcome, welcome. Always good to see you, Miss Emily. How's everything going?
Everything is going great. Everything is going great.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, I just want to say hi to everybody out there who's going to be able to catch us live. And if you're able to catch the replay, that's awesome too. I'm here with my friend and client, Emily Moss, who is a nutrition coach. She's the real deal, folks. She's not just a flash in the pan. She's got real world credentials. This is what she does for a living. And I'm super excited to be able to be here and talk a little bit more about the work that she does.
Me too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I guess we met what, 2-ish years ago, maybe?
Yep. Yep. We met at a live event. We met at the Real Coaches Summit, which is put on by my friend Aram Gregorian out in Las Vegas. Big shout out to him if he's watching this. And by the way, if you're a health, fitness, or wellness coach of any kind and you're looking to connect with a bigger community, that is definitely the event for you. So feel free to reach out to me for info. Actually, registration for next year is probably going to open up pretty soon. So,
Yeah.
and we'll
No, it's
definitely
a
be
it's a
there.
it's a great, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
great conference and so
totally.
many like-minded folks there, like yourself and so many
Yeah.
others. Yeah, it's a great
It's
event.
just a great way to connect to more people and brainstorm, get ideas, all of that. So let's talk. I would like for you to tell everyone a little bit about you and the work that you do.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a nutritionist. I am an online wellness and weight loss coach. I work with women specifically 45 and older. I've got clients all over the United States as well as, Europe and other places here and there. And I've been doing this online in private practice for about 7 years. And I love it. I just feel like it is such a great opportunity to partner with women, especially those that are 45 and older, because, we've been there, we've done that. We've done all the
Yes,
things.
totally.
And I think finally you get to a point where you're like, I'm done with all the, quick fixes, and I just really just want to live my life, but I want to learn how to
Yeah.
live it in a way that I can not only lose weight, but keep it off.
Yeah. And I just want to highlight that you lost a significant amount of weight as later in life, and you've been able to keep it off strictly because you practice the things that you teach other people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Right around my 50th birthday, I don't know, the light went off and I just thought, I keep doing this,
Yeah.
for every, whether it's an event, I've got a wedding to go to, or it's swimsuit season or vacation or whatever, and you want to lose the weight quickly,
Mhm.
and then you get to wherever you're going,
Mhm.
and then you have a party because you've lost the weight, and then you gain the 10, and then it just keeps going back and back and back until finally, you're right back plus more. So yeah, so right around my 50th birthday, I lost over, 30 pounds. Um, and it took a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't in any big hurry. And I think that's the big thing. Just understanding your own behaviors, patterns, habits, and how to adjust those things along the way to make it work for your life.
Yeah. And I love that you're spotlighting this and not some fancy diet plan, not some plan that has 10 different steps and particularly just from what I know of you and how much, you enjoy food and you're always like willing to like look at something different, how you don't tell people that they can't have certain foods. It's not about that. It's about making choices for yourself.
Exactly. And choices that align not only with your goals
Mhm.
of weight loss or a lean lifestyle, but also with your lifestyle, right?
Yes.
So if you say, um, I'm not drinking, I'm never going to drink again. Is that really realistic to a
Yeah.
person's life? Probably not. So
Yeah.
what is realistic, right? I tell my clients all the time if they're going to an event, activate your food snobbery, right? Like we're all food snobs.
I love that. Activate your food snobbery. That's a
Activate
good
your
one.
food snobbery,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because there are things that we eat because they're just there,
Yeah.
or we feel obligated, or whatever, and then we regret it later. And so
Yeah.
it becomes, number one, is it worth it? Does
Yeah.
it taste good? And if not, don't force yourself.
Yeah.
There's plenty of things that we don't do because we don't want to.
Yeah.
Why is food different?
Yeah, exactly. And I also think that we get big stories about, well, I can't have that. That's not good for me. Well, I can't have that because that's bad. Like the last time I checked, food doesn't have feelings or moral values, but yet we assign all that to it very easily.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, partly it's our culture that
Yeah,
has, moralized it. But then
yeah,
also, I think deep down, there are certain foods that we eat that we just don't feel good.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
if I eat 4 or 5 slices of pizza, I'm going to feel absolutely sick, right?
yeah,
It's not
right.
that it's bad, it's just
Yeah,
I don't feel good. But if I have one slice of pizza with a big salad, I'm fine, right? So
yeah.
I think there that in is also in the good and bad situation.
Well, and it's like you say, I think we just have to think about what does moderation look like for us. We have to eat to fuel our life.
Yeah.
And know that we've always got choices, that things are that I really don't believe in things being off limits. I mean, I realize everybody makes their own choices, and maybe there are people that they're just foods that are just an absolute no for them for whatever reason. That's totally fine. There's not a right or a wrong way to do it. I think you have to find the strategy that works for you.
Right. But I also think that there is something within educating yourself, right?
Yes.
How to read a food label, how much protein should I be
Yep.
getting?
Yeah.
Why is fiber important?
Mhm.
How can I put a meal plan together and, crank it out so that it doesn't take me 2 hours on a Sunday to, set myself up for the week? There are different strategies that
Yeah.
that we can grab a hold of once we learn them and implement
Yeah.
them into our lives.
Totally, totally. So let's fast forward to the real life fix for fat loss. One of the things that I love about your work is how open you are with teaching people the basic concepts. And one of the things right after I met you and I got connected to you on Instagram, I noticed a way that you used to teach people. You did a lot of video, you did a lot of short form reels, and you always had at least two or three things that even the most average person who doesn't know anything about food and eating could walk away with and start implementing. And I think, and that really allowed you to build your audience.
hmm hmm Yeah, I think it really is the fact that we think we know a lot of
Yeah.
things,
Yep.
but yet we're stuck. And,
Yeah.
especially for the woman who wants to lose weight, feels like she knows what to do, but
Hmm.
yet there's some missing components.
Yeah. And I also think that, and one of the things that I like about the way you teach and the way that you present your information, which gave us the idea to do this little mini course that you're promoting right now, is that, I think a big problem we have today is that there's so much information out there. It can almost be overwhelming for the average person to start. You can Google anything you want today. You can come up with thousands of free options on YouTube and thousands of websites with free downloadable meal plans. And then at the end of the day, the big question still looms, is this going to work for me?
hmm
I don't think you still have had your basic questions answered. And I think one of the things that you're really good at in your work is that you kind of cut all that out and you're like, no, these are the foundations that you want to be teaching and focusing on.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for saying that because you're so right.
Mhm.
Um, Even from, how many calories do I need to eat in a day?
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
a lot of people don't have a concept around that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, why do I need fiber in my diet? Should I
Mhm.
just take some Metamucil and be done with it? Well,
Yeah.
no, not necessarily. Let's
Yeah.
talk about food and how that
Yeah.
plays a part, you know?
Right.
And I think really with social media
Mhm.
and like you said, all the differing noises that are out there, some
Right.
factual and some not. And I think that's the confusing part. And there's so much that's contradictory.
Yeah.
Um, I tell women multiple times a day, you know, eating healthy is not the same as eating for weight loss.
Yes.
You
Or
know,
fat loss for that matter.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so because that's what every woman that I talk to pretty much says, I eat pretty healthy. I'm a
Yeah.
healthy eater.
Mhm.
Okay, what does that look like? Oh, that
Yeah,
looks like, I'm having some, salmon and I'm having some avocado toast and I'm having some quinoa, all of which are fantastic,
mhm,
but they are very calorie dense. And so, not knowing what your daily calories are, you could be blowing your budget and
totally.
therefore not losing the weight.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I think the fiber piece is so big for so many people. It's like fiber is filling, and it can actually help you temper those cravings that sometimes just hit like a brick house, at the end of the day when you're tired and you're kind of ready for the day to be over, and that's when you want to just reach for whatever's in the pantry.
Exactly, exactly. And knowing the difference between is it an insoluble fiber or a soluble fiber, and
Yeah,
why does that matter,
yeah,
Um, and I think so many times people are afraid of breads, for example,
exactly.
and there are a lot of breads out there now that are high fiber and can help. Now, you're not going to base your entire diet on that, but those kinds of things can help you, with
Yes.
your digestion, with just general fullness, that kind of thing.
Yeah, agree, totally, 100%. So, one of the things I already mentioned this, one of the things that you do a lot on the regular is you do these reels. And the reels are the way I see it are accomplish a couple of things. You're always educating people because I think that's a value that's near and dear to your heart is that you want to be teaching people so that they understand that it doesn't have to be hard, that when you understand the basics, it can be very simple. But you also, I think, are very good at offering people tools to use. Very simple strategies, things that they can go ahead and take home and start using right away. And so, one of the things that I noticed about your work right away, not long after we met, was how often you were doing this online. And as we all know, if anybody watching knows, if you're a business owner, video is king when you're online. The more that you do that, the better. You're just going to get more eyeballs on you. But one of the things that I noticed about your strategy is that you were doing it a lot. And at the end of the day, when you do that, not only does that bring more people into your ecosystem, but it actually helps you build more of a following, which you've done very, very well, I must say.
Thank you.
And so, even as an established health and fitness professional myself, I always think there's something that I can learn. And the more that I watched your reels and your videos, the more I was learning. And I knew that if I was learning it, that a lot of other people had to be learning it too. And when we were talking this past year at the Real Coaches Summit, I was really challenging you. I'm like, you've got pure gold here. There's a lot that you can do with this in your business. And I'm just curious. I know I got you thinking because we were talking about it a lot, but I guess I'm just curious, like, was that your plan from the beginning, or were you just doing it because it felt good?
No, my plan really was to, grow my business. And like you said, video was the king
Yeah,
and still is. And it was figuring out how I could showcase nutrition
yeah,
education in a
yeah,
way that people would just understand.
yeah.
And then when you said to me, "Hey, why do you keep reinventing the wheel?"
Yeah,
Basically, for one-on-one clients, which that is my absolute purpose and
totally,
passion
100%.
is to work one-on-one with women every single day. And but every day people are asking me questions, whether it's
Yep,
in my, direct messages, whether it is, on an email to me, something like that. And I found myself repeating a lot
yeah,
of the things
totally.
to people that weren't clients.
Yeah.
And while that's fine, and I'm happy to be a resource,
Mhm.
after a period of time, you know, like you said, there's value here. Let's try
It's pure
to,
gold. A lot of what you share
monetize
in your
that.
free content is what a lot of people charge for, and charge a lot for. And so one of my big passions, especially since right before the pandemic, is that I always want to see every entrepreneur that I meet really be able to maximize the gold that is your expertise. And so the way I looked at it was is that you just had all of this amazing content. And instead of going and creating something new, there was a way that we could actually repurpose all of this. And I remember when I had the idea, and it's not like we hadn't been talking about it, but I was thinking all of this needs to go in some format that people can get their hands on and like consume very quickly and be able to get a quick win from doing.
Well, and I think it's funny because when you messaged me and you said, "Hey, I have this idea,"
Mhm.
um, for those that don't know my platform at all, I'm very much, it needs to be realistic. It needs
Yeah,
to fit your real life. So that was my thing. And so then when
yeah,
you were like, "Hey, I had this idea about your reels, REEL
uh,
versus real, REAL, you know, somehow we can like merge that." And I just thought, wow, what a stroke of brilliance, Allison.
well,
And
but it was
I
I
think
guess
that's
my
where it
thing
comes.
is this is something that you're already doing.
Right.
And it's like one of the things I talk to my clients all the time about is let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's take what we've already got and how can we repurpose it? How can we create something different from it? And that's essentially what you did.
Well, because at the end of the day, my purpose and goal is to help as many women as possible.
Yep.
And there are some that want one-on-one coaching, and there are some that can afford one-on-one coaching, and then there are those that cannot. And so, why not leverage the same thing that I work with my one-on-one clients to the masses, whoever, wants to do it on their own in a way that is um, self-taught
Yep.
basically. They can go at their own pace. You can go back and watch it as many times as you want. There are, PDFs and guides and all of that that you can use as a resource library as you go along.
Yeah. And what's more, without letting the cat out of the bag here, we've also come up with a lot of other ideas about future things that you can do with your content, like based on the time of year and, other, problems and questions that people ask you. So for people listening, I just want you to understand that your expertise is really a gold mine and you know way more than you think.
Well, and that's what I appreciate so much from you, as, just having you as not only a sounding board and a proofreader and all of that,
Yeah,
but, I mean, like more minds are better, right? Like
totally.
having um some different viewpoints, what are people going to ask questions about? What things am I tripped up on that you can bring some clarity to? And I think that's what
Yeah,
you helped me a lot about,
yeah.
streamlining things, bringing some clarity to things, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and just continue. And the more we talked about it, the clearer you got on what your program promise was or your outcome. It's like you got more and more clear about what was the purpose of the real life fix for fat loss. And I think it's just something that I think sounds so basic. We don't think we need to think about that. But the more that we talk about it, the clearer we get. And you know what? When the clearer we get, guess what? People watching and listening to us are going to get clearer too.
Right, right. And I think that was really key when you kept drilling down to me. Okay, what is your promise? Like,
Mhm.
what do you want these buyers to get?
Yeah.
And initially it was one thing. And then as we went along, it really was, okay, all you need to do is XYZ. Here's the
Yeah.
formula,
Yeah.
here's the strategy,
Yeah.
and just implement. Like
Yeah.
that's what it became, and even from the standpoint of, like one of the modules is on meal planning,
Yeah.
and
That
and
was my
as
favorite one, by the way.
and as we talked about it, I mean, there are so many different ways to meal plan,
Yeah.
but I think most people think of meal planning as a, multi-hour prison
Yeah.
sentence in their kitchen. Um, and I think like even just having, like, I have a quiz in the module, like, what kind of prepper are you?
Yeah.
Are
Which is
you,
great.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, because like it moves you from what you think you are to
Yeah.
what you actually are,
Yeah.
and there are times that, I love to meal prep and I don't mind staying in the kitchen for a while, but then I have weeks that I can't. So if
Yeah.
I can't, what does that look like for me? And
Yeah.
how do I make it work,
Yeah.
without having a bunch of, takeout food and that kind of thing?
And I think, again, this is right on brand for you because if it's not realistic for your real life,
Yeah,
right, then you're not even going to talk about it. It's like you're going to
exactly.
make sure that it's in line with who you are and what you do, which I think every entrepreneur listening should really stop and think about, what am I for? What am I against? And is this on brand for me?
And
Yeah.
I think even like drilling down to, what are your core principles in your
Yeah.
business, right?
Yeah.
And so, for me with nutrition, I want to educate,
Yep.
I want to encourage, and I
Hmm.
want to empower them. So those are
Yeah.
my three main,
Yeah.
goals with every single thing that I put out. I'm asking, does it educate? Yes or no? Does it encourage them? Yes or no? And does it empower? And maybe not all three are in one specific,
Yeah.
blog, email, post, what have you. But does some of one of those three, does it answer the question?
Totally, 100%. And again, it's like if it doesn't like fit into real life, then that's just not something you're going to be about. And that's
Right.
one of the things I really appreciate about you. So let's talk about what the real life fix for fat loss looks like. What we basically did for people listening is we took a lot of her reels, Emily's reels that she had already made with tools and teaching tips and everything, and we basically sorted them into categories. So tell people a little bit about kind of what this actually looks like. This isn't a course which teaches everything about nutrition, right? But it's a mini course which gives you 6 modules that cover really the foundational principles.
That's right. So, we talk nutrition, we
Mhm.
talk calories, protein, we talk about fiber, we talk about carbs. There's so much around carbs that
Yeah.
people are either miseducated, misinformed. Same thing with protein.
Mhm.
And so we talk about that. I give not only examples of things, there are different categories of foods and they're all broken down, and it's not so much rules per se, but it really is, okay, if I'm looking at carbs, there's starchy carbs and there are non-starchy carbs, and what are those and how do they fit within
Yeah.
a healthy diet,
Yeah.
Um, and then we also talk about meal prepping, as you mentioned. And then there's a section just on me. It's called,
The
Coach
coach's
Confessional.
confessions. I love it. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And and there's 3 or 4 things in there that I believed
Yeah.
that just weren't right, right?
Yeah.
Like I believed that I could skip a bunch of meals and still lose weight, or I needed to jog and all of that sort of thing to lose weight. And that's just not the case. If
Yeah.
you know certain things about nutrition, whether it is your calorie goal and your protein and fiber goal, if you know how to build a plate.
Yeah.
What does a plate look like? What should it
Yeah.
look like
Yeah.
for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And do you need a snack? And what do you do when you go to the Mexican restaurant and the
Yeah.
chips are there and
Yeah.
all of those things?
Right. And you also have a module on helping us figure out how much protein we need every day, which there's so much talk about macros now. It's kind of I stopped short of calling it a buzzword, but everybody's talking about it now. It used to be people talked about food groups and the basic food groups, and now people talk about the macros. And but I still think as much as we talk about that, there's still a lot of confusion as to how much protein should you get in a day.
Hmm.
And what does that look like? And what are examples of that? And being that so many people are visual learners, in that module, you even have a PDF which has pictures on it, which
Hmm.
makes it really easy for people to figure out, okay, I can have that and that and that, and that's my protein for the day.
Exactly. Well, and there are 2 videos, one that is showing what 120 grams of protein per day look like. That's nothing weird. It's
Yeah.
regular food.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then there's another one that has 180 grams of protein with just 1,400 calories. And what does that look like? And
Yeah.
that includes some chicken tacos. I mean, it's just real food. Like I said, nothing weird. And
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing too, that people get caught up in you know, oh, sorry, my dog needs
That's
to.
all right.
Oh boy.
It's
Oh,
okay. That's all right. It's real life,
it
right?
is
This is
it is
real
real
life.
life. It is real life. Because I think that's people think, oh, I must need to, go buy the chia seed or whatever the things are. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. But you know what? If you need to buy like a 5 pound bag of chia that you're never going to use again, to me,
Right.
that's not real life.
Yeah, and it's not realistic,
Exactly.
because it's looking over here and saying this is what I need or I can't accomplish, my goals.
Right.
So,
And it has to work long term. I tell people all the time, every single diet out there works
yeah.
until you stop doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like until you stop doing it and you get invited to a wedding, you go out to dinner with your friends, you meet up your for ladies' night, whatever it is. If you can't manage regular life, you're never going to be able to keep the weight off long term without constantly restricting yourself.
Hmm.
And that's really what I try to get across
Yeah.
is you can live your life without having to, track your food obsessively,
Yeah.
without having to
Travel with a
feel,
food scale, a weight scale. I'm like,
you,
look,
you
I
know,
get people do that, but I'm like, I'm probably never going to do that. I know me.
and there are ways to do it without,
Yeah.
and I think that is one of the biggest, things when people think, oh, macros, oh, how do I do that? In my opinion, calories and protein and fiber are the only things you need to worry about.
Yep.
Fats and carbs are going to fall wherever they're going to fall. As long as you stay within your calorie budget, you're going to be fine.
Yep.
Unless you are the bodybuilder that is getting up on stage and all of that sort of thing, that's where those matter. The carbs, the fats, the
Totally.
protein, all equaling out and all of that sort of thing. But, my clients are not those people. My
Yeah, and
clients
mine
are
really aren't either. I can
regular
remember
people.
like earlier in my life, I competed for a very long time and I had a very strict regimen that I followed, but that worked for me back then. And I was also in my 20s and early 30s, which, like, let's be honest, things were a little different then,
Yeah.
right? But to your point, it's like the older we get, we have to fuel our bodies for the life that we're living, not for the life that we lived back in high school or the life that we lived when we were training for something. We're training for real life here.
Hmm.
And this is an amazing strategy to help you accomplish that for real life.
Hmm. Well, and I think the other thing too, the older you get, even though you desire things aesthetically for your body, you also have to think of the longevity of it, right?
Yeah.
And yes, using food as fuel, as well as, food is also tradition and culture and all of that. And how do you work all that in? How do you go through the holidays and not gain weight?
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
you start the new year without having to be on a diet every single year that New Year's rolls around,
Which are very
because
real questions that people have because that's
yeah,
real life.
it is. It is. It is.
It's-
And I mean, you have been so, I feel like, instrumental in helping me like really drill down and find the clarity to present this and launch it as successful as it has been just in
yeah.
what, 24 hours, I
I
guess.
know. Yeah, I know. And you're just beginning because you've got your card open. We're going to tell everybody how they can get access to this for people listening who are looking for something that not only you're going to do one time, but what I love about this is once you buy it, it's yours forever. You can go back and access the videos. Each module has a couple of your reels that pertain to this topic. There's a cheat sheet or a downloadable resource and like actionable things that no matter where you are in your life, you can go back to and do.
Right. Well, and I think, some of the real value is in the grocery store,
Yes.
knowing what to look for. And I'm going to show you, hey, every time you're in the store, if you've got a question on something, here's what you need to look for,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And I mean, once you see it, like our friend Aram says,
Yeah.
once you see it, you can't
Yeah.
unsee it, like, so
Yeah.
once you learn some of these things, it really becomes second nature. You're pushing
Yeah.
your cart in the store and it says high protein, but is it really? How do you
Yeah.
know? It says high fiber, is it really? How do
Yeah.
you know? So,
Totally.
yeah.
And I also love one of the things that we talked about where you were like, there's so much obsession now over high protein. It's like, I can't remember a time when I would go down the snack food aisle of all places in the store and you see high protein on a box of cookies. And I loved what you said about that. You're like, well, that's just carbs in a protein costume. That's really what it was. But it's true
Exactly.
though, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I had a client who, um, she bought some protein, they said high protein pretzels on them.
Uh,
And so, we had a conversation about that. And I said, well, how do they taste? And she said, they're okay. And
yeah,
I said, wouldn't you rather have regular pretzels that aren't as expensive? I
yeah,
mean, and maybe you don't need the, 2 grams of protein that these are providing or whatever it is. And she was like,
right,
well, yeah, of course. So I think that's the other thing. Not everything needs to be protein. I
right.
can have a cookie just to have a cookie. I don't
Yeah.
need to have it be a
Sometimes
high
you just need a
protein
taste
cookie.
or a bite.
Yeah.
You don't need to eat the whole thing. That's another issue. That's not being on the right or wrong eating plan. That's looking at like portion size and all of that.
Right. And I think we get all hung up on, I got to make sure I'm getting all my protein in. And so we are buying these things that, like you said, are under the guise of protein when
Yeah,
really they're a carb or a fat.
totally. Yeah. It's like, I love what you said one day. You said, whatever ingredient is present the most, if you see that there's more carbs than anything else, guess what? Count that food as a carb. If there's more
Mhm.
protein than anything else, count that food as a protein, which I think is a good something to keep in mind.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because it is confusing and I mean, I'm guilty as much as anybody else of pushing my cart down and I see something and oh, that looks good. And then
Yeah.
all the shiny words on the front of the box, and I'm going to
Which is
turn it
just
over.
marketing. I mean, which is just marketing. And
It
look,
is.
I'm a business person. I get it. Why companies want to do that. Marketing is how people find you and how people say that's what I want, to some
Mhm.
degree, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think really it is cutting through a lot of the contradiction and just really getting down to the basics because that's
Yeah.
really even though I mean I think we all know, you know,
Yeah.
most parents said, right, like eat your fruits and vegetables, like
Yeah.
most parent, like we know that, but we've been so conditioned by the food industry and the marketing. I mean, they manufacture this stuff to taste good, right?
Yeah.
And to
Totally.
have some addictive properties.
Yeah. Totally. And that's all by design to get you to
Yeah.
eat more and buy more, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Totally.
and I think there's room for all of that, but if you don't know what your calorie budget is, then, I was talking to somebody the other day and they said they know exactly how many grams of protein is in a chicken breast, but they've got no idea what the calories are in like 4 Oreos.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
why do we know what's the good stuff and then the stuff that we think is off limits, like we don't know,
Yeah.
And so I think there's a disconnect there, and
Totally.
that's just what we need to learn.
Yeah, right. And I just think it's just a continual, just keep mastering the basics. And what I love about the real life fix for fat loss, the way you have it set up is that it's not only is it easy to consume, you just watch the reel, you look at the free download checklist, whatever it is, and then you offer at least a couple of tools. So you really empower people to be able to make those changes.
Yeah, and I think that's where um the freedom really begins because
Yeah,
then your eyes are open. You're like, "Oh, well, I can eat this stuff. I
yeah,
can lose weight. I can
totally.
maintain my weight."
100%. Yeah, 100%. So we just opened the card a couple days ago officially. So we've been working on this for, a solid month or 6 weeks to get it
Mhm.
ready to go. And it's going to be available for the next month. But having said that, I just want to tell people listening, you might hear a month and think, I'm going to go ahead and I'll make a note of that. But here's the thing, just like with anything else, and this is just my fitness background coming out, the sooner, if you're looking for something that will help you get results and help you get a plan that you can actually stick to, the sooner that you start, the better, because the sooner you're going to actually see that that's working.
Well, and just to, tie into that, if you started today and you got yourself through
Yep.
Thanksgiving, right? Like
Yep.
that is a solid amount of time to create some momentum. And
Yep.
then you would be able to enter the holidays without the extra 5 or 10 pounds that, you could potentially lose.
Yeah, totally, totally. So I'm going to put the link here for people listening to take a look. This is a really, really not just an amazing resource, but just a really, really good product that even if you are, kind of in a program now and you're seeing some results, or maybe you want something that you can use later, this is definitely something you want to get your hands on because it's only available for a limited time. And I just really want to emphasize that. It's easy to forget. It's easy to say, oh, well, I'll buy it later. And then before you know it, it's going to be too late. So I just want to make sure that everyone listening knows how they can take advantage of getting their copy of the Real Life Fix for fat loss.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we're going to put the link right here in the comments. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or you can reach out to Emily as well. She's actually tagged in this video, so you can reach out and communicate with her. Or how else can people connect with you?
I'm on Instagram at Nutrition Coaching 365 or the website, also nutritioncoaching365.com.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks so much for
Thank
chatting
you.
with me today. It's always good to talk to you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. All right.